Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Kevin Theos, and I'm one of the chairs of the USPTA Career and Leader Mentoring Program. And I'm excited to have everyone on tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. We have other chairs. Like I said, I'm one of the chairs. Mitch White, who's on the call as well, is a chair of the program, along with Mark Faber. And we have committee members as well, Nancy Cox, Bogard, and Jenny Gray. So we're delighted to have, it's a real team effort to make this successful, and we're really excited to have everyone be involved in it. For our presentation tonight, we're going to go over a few things. The first one is how to get the very best out of this program. All right. We've learned a few things over the last couple of years, and so we're going to share that. We're going to take a deeper look at program objectives. Mitch White is going to share some thoughts on that. We have some frequently asked questions that have come up over the last couple of years. And we also have had some success stories. We're going to highlight a couple of those as well. And then there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions toward the end. All right. First off, it's just briefly in terms of the history of the program. This particular program started in the Southern Division, and we had good success with that, and with the blessing of Gary Trost, who at that time was the president of USPTA National, we were able to expand this into a national program, and we've had it over the course of the last couple of years. Mitch White has been instrumental in helping me in refining it, and we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. We're excited to have you all be involved and really help us learn more lessons and continue to make this a better and better program. All right. One of the aspects of it in terms of getting the most out of the program is professionalism, and there are a few components of that. Now the first one being rapport. I will be sending an email to everyone early on to kind of kick this off. And one thing that we ask is that the mentors share some information about themselves so that they can find some commonalities with their mentees. And as we know, most mentees have submitted their resumes to everyone. So they're all to their mentors rather, so that it gets things started right away. And after rapport, one thing that is very important is responsiveness. We've had instances where mentors and mentees have been, everyone's busy, but there have been times when people have been very, very slow in getting back or not getting back at all with their counterpart. And that's one thing in the application process and some of the interviews that I had that we really talked about. And I'm confident that our group that we have now is going to be a lot stronger, or will be stronger than the previous groups that we've had just overall. So one thing that we ask is get back to your counterpart very quickly. Being respectful. Although there are many pros who are more formal than casual, they're more laid back. We're trying to help our pros, with their careers. And this is something that it would be better to shade on the side of being a little bit more formal than a little bit too casual. As far as being ready, the mentors, it work best when they have their agenda planned out in advance rather than when they have the call, they're not sure what it is that they're going to be discussing. And it's just more free flowing, so that they're prepared with an agenda, but then the mentee is also prepared with questions to ask the mentor, so that right off the bat, everyone is ready to get going from the beginning. Being reliable is a huge part of this. The mentors will be giving homework or some assignments and things for mentees to work on between calls, and it's really important that the mentees follow through on that. All right, besides professionalism, communication is an important aspect of it. As you all know, within the application itself and within conversations I've had with you, that quarterly conversations, that's considered that as a minimum. So you have one conversation that's an actual on the phone or Skype or Zoom or what have you, but you're actually talking with your mentor or mentee at least quarterly. But we know that the more frequent the conversations are, the more effective that the program is for mentors and mentees. The better feedback that we've gotten, the best feedback that we've received has been from mentors and mentees that have spoken far more frequently than just quarterly. Emails and texts, those are important for times between meetings as far as doing homework or any questions, but really having some conversations is vital to make it as successful as possible. The most frequent request from mentees is that their mentors are willing to listen, but then mentors also ask that mentees are open to recommendations. We've had instances where those things haven't always worked out, where the mentees have really been somewhat resistant to trying new things, and it's better for everyone if just the mentees give it a try. These mentors have been in the industry for a long time. They have a lot to share, and just go with it. And same thing with the mentors, just listening to what their mentees have to say rather than necessarily having something right off the bat to offer. All right, the program format. The program is flexible. We try to strike a balance between flexibility and but having consistent expectations, so that resume building is a major component of the program, so that it doesn't matter. You can have your own mentoring style, and we encourage you to explore whatever style that you have to go in that direction. But ultimately, you should be helping your mentee improve their resume and improve their skill sets. So again, you can have your own way of doing that, but at the end of the program year, they should have something that they can demonstrate that they've improved on their resume or new skill sets. In terms of call preparation, before the first call, the mentee should be considering potential for future career paths and resume improvements so that the first call can go as smoothly as possible. And one thing to bring up is that we have mentees that may end up getting out of tennis entirely, and that's okay, because many of these people will come back to tennis. So, I mean, this is about ultimately improving the mentees as far as their long-term careers, and so it isn't necessarily keeping them. They don't have to stay in tennis. We want them to be the very best that they can be. And sometimes we have instances where pros will leave the industry and they come back and they're stronger from having left the industry for a little while. We also look for, career guidance, all right? So we're really trying to, again, try to help them with skill sets that they can use within tennis and outside of tennis. And we're also attempting to find industry leaders, that is, people who might want to get involved volunteering with USPTA and who knows, eventually maybe be on the national board. In terms of progress tracking, we will be I will send out quarterly a form to the mentees to complete. And that form there will be a couple of questions on there in terms of what progress that they're making in their relationship with their mentor as far as improving their resume and their skill sets. And then the mentors will be each mentor will receive a phone call from someone who's on the committee to see how things are going. So these are some components in terms of the program format. And Mitch has some thoughts on, or rather some things to share on the program objectives. Mitch?
Thank you, Kevin. I want to appreciate, thank you for all the great work you're doing, leading the charge here with this, Kevin, and I'm glad to be able to contribute any way that I've been able to so far. Just to reiterate Kevin's point, the program is a career development objective. That's the purpose of the program, is to help pros with career decisions, career development, and improvement. And the way we want to get down into the minutia of that, some of the things that we'd like to help accomplish, first one being developing personal branding. There's no time more than now that pros need to develop their personal brand, and from that, really meaning building your credibility and your loyalty customer base. Personal branding is just a really important component to offset market fluctuations and to differentiate yourself from your competitors. And what's really interesting is, as a tennis pro, you're in a very unique position that you're working with people very personally, and they trust you. And you have a lot of opportunities to build a brand that can be expanded into other areas. It could either be additional skill sets that you may have that you can bring to the table that you could build your business around, or it could just be taking your tennis career down more specific paths of types of services that you offer. And so personal branding is something we really want to help you enhance, and that's something that will show up on your resume. The resume building is really one of the most quantifiable ways that we can look at the success of the program. If you've got an enhanced resume, both from skill sets and the resume itself, just reads better, looks better, and is stronger, is going to give you an advantage. So one of the ways we're going to do this is by encouraging the skill building. And the skill building, in my opinion on skill building, is you can either be building new skill sets or you can be enhancing skills that you've currently got, or possibly are just hidden, undiscovered strengths. And the way I'd like to approach that, and the way I've done that with the mentors that mentees that I've worked with, and Kevin and I have talked about, is to try to take a professional business perspective on a lot of the things that you're working on in your career. As a tennis pro or as a coach, I mean, this is a business, and it is your business. And a lot of times as a tennis pro or coach, we tend to think from the tennis perspective first versus a professional or business perspective. And I personify that. I was in the tennis industry for the first half of my life, and that was my primary focus. And then I got out of tennis completely, went into business, and I discovered that there was a whole different way of thinking. And learning best practices from business is something that that I've tried to apply. And one of the things that we encourage you to try to do is adopt, if you don't already, do, and if you already do, just continue to enhance more of a business professional perspective on the decision making and the opportunity that you work with your mentors during the year, because they're in a position to really help expand on that. And then the third thing that we really would appreciate, and it's going to really be an advantage to you and for the program, is quality reporting and recording, taking copious notes and really pertinent notes as you document the journey through the course of the year. It's something that you'll refer back to, and this is something I've discovered as a mentor in the program. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and reviewed notes from all the conversations and emails and found ways to help a mentee just from reviewing the multitude of notes that I had. And it's also something that we're going to be hopeful that we'll have, if anybody wants to provide access to any of the notes or information or lessons learned that you have both as a mentor or a mentee during the year, we're very eager to receive those so that we can continue to enhance the program and improve it as we go. So note-taking is something that we really encourage along with the calls and the emails, and would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Kevin.
All right, thanks, Mitch. One thing to add to that, we all know that when we get reports to do, that it's not always the most exciting thing in the world, but we're really looking to you all to help us make this a better and better program over time. And one of the challenges that we have had is that when there are reports, let's say this next time around, or this time rather, the mentees will be receiving a link to a document that they fill out or some questions to answer. Providing as much detail as possible would be very, very beneficial to the program itself. So I encourage you to say, instead of just having a couple of sentences that, yeah, the program's going great and we've had good conversations, but really provide as much detail as you can. I mean, you're really helping us shape this program, and you're helping some mentors and mentees that'll follow you. And the same thing goes with the mentors. As you receive your phone calls from those on the committee, really providing as much information as you can so we can, again, continue to make this program better and better over time. So we do get some questions that have come up more than once or twice. One of them is, should I communicate with my mentee supervisor? And the answer to that is generally no. And the reasoning behind it is that there could be conflicts between what the mentor is thinking that the mentee should be working on and what the mentee supervisor believes. That may not be the case, but it very well could be the case. The other part of it is that part of the program is to have the mentees feel comfortable and really sharing what's going on at their facilities. You know, everything that they're struggling with, everything that's going well. And if they know that their mentor is, you know, having periodic conversations with their supervisor, it's not so clear that the mentee is going to be willing to be candid and that they're ultimately going to get as much out of the program. So, you know, if you happen to know if you're a mentor and you happen to know the mentee's supervisor and you know, it comes up in discussion with them that you're, you know, mentoring this person, you know, there's obviously, you can choose to have that conversation, but in general, it's advisable to not have that. We have had some occasions where mentors or mentees have had various teaching systems, products, and so forth that they're really excited about, and they think that their counterpart could benefit from it. The thought on that is, if you believe that the person that you're connected to in this, whether you're a mentor or mentee, would benefit from knowing about it, you know, absolutely share it. But it's a fine line between sharing something that is, you know, arguably of benefit to that person and then trying to sell them on something it is that you've been promoting or that you're excited about. So it's just something to keep in mind, to be sensitive to. Mentor mentees not responding. My recommendation on that is try a couple of ways to reach them, call them, text them, send an email. If they're not responding within a week or 2 weeks, then send me an email at usptamentoring@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can iron that out or figure out what's going on. Sometimes people have personal circumstances that prevent them from communicating. But yeah, just let me know about that, and we'll see if we can figure it out. But my hope is that from the application process and the interview process that we've had, that instances of that occurring where someone is really just not as committed to the program, there will be very, very few of those. Okay. The program is worth educational credit. You have to actually do, you know, all of the components of it. That is that if you're a mentee, you'll need to fill out each of the quarterly forms, and that there will be a form at the end to complete as well. And then same thing that with the mentors, they'll need to have their conversations with our committee members as well. But yeah, it is worth credit, but it's all or nothing. So if you kind of disappear from the program for half of it, then you would not be able to get credit. So you really need to stay on top of that. And like I said, I'll be sending out that educational credit form each quarter just as a kind of reminder. This has come up a few times. We're always delighted when we have early successes. So if you are a mentor and you've successfully helped your mentee add something to their resume, a new skill set, that well, you can find some other or maybe enhance that particular skill set. But you know, the program duration is for a year, so it'll run from July 1st until June 30th of next year. And so, yeah, I mean, if you start to get successes within the first couple of months, terrific. You could build on those over the course of the remainder of the program. All right. We've had numerous success stories. We'll highlight a couple of those now. Let's see. Carrie, can you?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? I don't know if I'm muted or not. Yeah, I had a great experience this time around with Claire. I think part of why we hit it off so well is because our pathways have been very similar, from playing to coaching to now being more of an industry person. She's a TSR for USTA, and she was one of the ones with our first call. She said she wasn't sure she even wanted to stay in tennis, and I was like, well, this is cool. But it worked out great. We actually talked a lot about different ways that she could use her other skill sets and other things that she was interested in within her tennis job and make that a better fit for her. One of the things that she started talking about doing was a lot more media stuff. And she started, especially during quarantine, she got really into it and was doing her Me and My Racket, doing like little live Facebook things and podcasts and all this stuff, and interviewing all different kinds of people in the industry, from players to coaches to, you know, sales reps to USTA staff. And really did a great job with it. And I think got really excited about tennis again because she saw just how much else there was to do besides her little circle of stuff she was working on, and how to bring her other skill sets in to make her even better at that. So we also texted quite a bit. You know, we had our regular calls, but we were texting a lot in between, and it might even just be like, hey, Claire, how you doing today? Like literally, it's like something super simple like that. And it would turn into a long text conversation, you know, and we'd share some ideas and whatnot. But I think that was the key, was just staying in touch a lot and finding that common ground that you both have. So I mean, if you have common ground like she and I did, then it's the trust is built it right in there because they know you've had some of the same experiences. And don't be afraid to learn from your mentee also. You know, we always look at that like the mentor is the one that's got all the experience and all the knowledge, but we can learn from our mentees just as much and get a different perspective on things. And I think it's important to keep that in mind too.
Fantastic. All right, Carrie, thank you so much. Mitch, what are your thoughts? Hello, Mitch.
Okay, I'm back on. Here we go. You know, I've had the pleasure of working with several great pros during this program. I've been involved with this since the beginning with you, Kevin. And what I'm going to do, I'll go over some specifics that we actually accomplished across the line. But I think the one thing I'd say to start with this is there's no one size fits all with how the mentor-mentee relationship works. What I was really big on doing with each of the mentees that I worked with was goal setting with flexibility. And I spent the first quarter really just getting to know them more than anything else. That was goal number one, because everybody's goals were somewhat different and everybody's strengths, weaknesses were different as well. And so just developing that trust, as Carrie was saying, was really important, getting to know what their needs were and their issues to help them get the most out of the experience. And that was really the only way that I felt like I could craft a plan for the remainder of the year, you know, taking into account their individual needs. And so each quarter, after establishing the needs and the goals for each of the people, each quarter included assignments that really emphasized a lot of self-reflection and helping them work through the issues and the goals and the path themselves. And I felt like my goal was, or my purpose was, to just help guide them to answer their own questions. And interestingly, one of the people that I worked with was very clear on the direction they wanted to go. And it was definitely tennis, and it was a very clear path in tennis. What they were having issues with were establishing boundaries both between their personal and professional life, and then also boundaries in tennis. Being able to say no when you see opportunities and being able to evaluate which opportunities were the right ones to go for, you know, to enhance their chances of success and growth as a pro. And what they were really needing was just clarity on how to evaluate how to achieve the goals. So for that person, we spent a lot of time of just having them evaluate and rank and prioritize the things that they needed and wanted. And I did this both on a short-term 1-year plan and then an additional 5-year plan, and had them work both directions so that each time we talked, each quarter, we would look at, you know, how are your goals different than the last time we talked a quarter ago. And by the end of the year, this person had really refined clearly the path that they wanted to take, and had an actual list of things that they would move forward and agree to do if they were given the opportunity, and things they learned how to say no. And it was really enhanced their confidence to make those decisions. The other person that I worked with that was interesting was somebody that was not clear on their path, and actually, like Carrie said, was really thinking about potentially not staying in the business. And what I did with this person was really try to find ways for them to have a different perspective of what they were doing and evaluate it sort of as an outsider, finding where your strengths were, what your weaknesses were, what your goals were, but can you do that in a way that makes you view it from a different perspective? And can you achieve the goals staying on a path, or do you need to leave that path for a while? And it was interesting. It was parallel to what Carrie was talking about. And by the end of this program, for each of the people I worked with, what I I feel that we had achieved was they had a much clearer sense not only of the path that they wanted to take for their careers, but how to do that. And I personify your point earlier, Kevin, because again, I was in tennis, only in tennis the first half of my career, and got out of it and got into business for the second half and then returned here. And perspective has a lot to do with how successful you can be as a tennis person. So for me, that was really the achievement, was seeing they had a clear path, they had tools that both reflected on the resume, but they had personal tools that helped them make decisions for their career.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mitch. Claire, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Kevin. Can you hear me?
I can. So, yeah, could you share your experiences as a mentee?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've had great experiences as a mentee as well. I've been privileged enough to have two great mentors, and the really cool thing was they both had very different styles, which was pretty neat to see play out. And so it brought just like a totally different perspective, to what I was going through. And there were sometimes we'd get into like philosophical conversations, or there would be more like tangible solutions and goal settings. And then I would be expected to work on that and get back. And, both of those approaches were really effective, I felt like. And I also felt like with each of them, they were very curious, like in their different ways, and, just great listeners and asking really good questions, like that provoked answers that I didn't even know like would come out, and so it was really neat to feel that they were interested and like really vested in helping me improve and progress in whatever was going on. And I also felt like, throughout both of those relationships that we connected on certain aspects, as far as like just, tennis is a huge industry, but like playing and teaching, for example, they had both been players and teachers. And so it was really helpful to know that, someone knew what it felt like to teach 6 hours in the court, or, someone knew what it felt like to play at a high level. So just building that rapport at the get-go, and then, coming back to that throughout was really special. So really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And let's see, now we have a number of folks who have been in the program before. Is there anyone who's on the call who's been in this program in the past who would like to share a couple of thoughts?
Don't jump at once.
All right. Well, we will transition then to just any general questions. So, and if people are willing, or can unmute if they'd like to ask questions.
Hey, Kevin, this is Sid.
Hey, Sid.
So just circling back, thanks for doing this, by the way, all of you, and love being a part of this program. Circling back to an earlier part of the conversation about sort of the data, the reportables, the things that we can capture to add to the future benefit of the program. Are you gonna, or your team gonna send out sort of the scope of that? And the reason I bring that up is some things in a mentor-mentee relationship, it can almost be like the doctor thing or the lawyer thing, or especially if it becomes personal or personal about their job, they might not want to see that reported. And so maybe clarification on how we grab because I know it's important for, to say what the tangible is, but maybe I'm guessing that we'll get some direction from you. It's like, hey, either ask your mentee, can we share this? Or ask them if we could share it anonymously, or whatever the parameters are. If you could speak to that just briefly, that would be helpful for everybody. Thanks.
Sure, I appreciate that. So you're right. I mean, there is a level of confidentiality that can often take place in these relationships. And so we will be asking that, yeah, I mean, if there's something that people do not want to share, and I think that's a great point, and we will notify people, notify the mentors and mentees to just be aware of that, to communicate with each other what they may or may not be, if there's something that they're uncomfortable in sharing. I mean, the main thing is, I think if you approach it from beginning with the resume that, all right, well, here's what we've been working on since the last call, and those are tangible things that are going to ultimately end up in an enhanced resume by the end of the program year. That type of information shouldn't be so proprietary that they wouldn't be willing to share it. In addition to that, I think having just a perspective on, all right, well, what can I share about my experience in this program so far that would be of value in shaping the program in the future? And I don't know that, that particular kind of, if you start with that mindset that, you'd be able to provide, even if there are some aspects of your conversations with your mentor or mentee that are, something that you don't necessarily want to share widely, that you would be able to come up with some things that, hey, these are the components of the program that are working for us. Here are some things that we're trying we think are very effective. And that type of information would be, helpful as we continue to make the program better and better. Are there other questions? Okay. All right. Fantastic, everybody. Well, I appreciate your time this evening. We will be putting this on YouTube so that for other folks who were not able to make the call, feel free, please send me an email or give me a call if you have any questions that you didn't think of tonight. And we are very excited about this particular group. This is the first time that we limited the number of people that we were allowing in, and just really attempting to make this a better and better program over time. And so I'm excited about each and every one of you. So thanks again for making the call tonight, and I look forward to working with you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.